Hey there, my Irishman, this is Sean of Nintendo, and welcome to a new episode of Let's Interview, a series where I take various Let's Players, YouTubers, interview them so you guys can get to know them, and he or she can get a little bit more publicity. So who do we have today?
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Herrinplays.
Heron, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you, buddy?
Doing pretty good, guys. We're having another late night recording again, unfortunately. That's what I get for living in Ireland.
Well, that is your fault. I mean, it's totally... This is completely your problem here.
So
It's 2 in the afternoon for me. I'm just kind of chilling, you know. I'm just like, man, this is so late at night. I'm not really.
So you ready to get into the questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so let's start by telling everyone a little bit about your channel.
My channel, Herrinplays, is a Let's Play channel. It's got a lot of different games that are going on there. My goal is to have kind of a mixture of games that I want to play and games that I've always played as a kid. That I have and have not already experienced a lot myself, and just games I want to share. I put out 2 videos a day, 6 days a week. So I have a lot of content that goes out, and it's a lot of fun. I really, really enjoy it, and I absolutely love Let's Playing.
That's cool. So, how did you go up with your YouTube username, Herrinplays?
It's kind of an odd story because back in when I was younger, teenager kind of thing, like 14, 15, I used to write a whole lot, and what I wanted to do back then is I wanted to be a fantasy author. And I spent a few years actually back then where just now and then I'd work on this fantasy world I created, and one of the names of an area in kind of the fantasy world was called the Plains of Herrin. And that was a name I always just loved and always stuck with me. So when I decided I was going to make the Let's Play channel, I had to think about it some, and I was like, man, I can't think of anything that feels good. And then I thought, well, what about Herrinplays? And I was like, hey, that sounds great. And it's just a name that always stuck with me, so.
And HP kind of just ended up happening, so.
Yeah, kind of. It was something that was half intentional and half accidental. And it did really contribute well to being able to do like a little video outro thing, which I really enjoy doing, you know, so it all works out.
Okay, cool. So who made your channel background, if anyone did?
I did. I used to, back in the day, try to get other people to help me with graphical stuff a few years ago, and what I've learned is that the best thing to do is actually learn how to do these things yourself, because even if you're going to suck at it for forever, eventually you'll get not so sucky, and you'll be able to make stuff that you actually want to make when you're wanting to make it. Mm-hmm. So I'm really actually proud of the current background. I think it looks really, really good. It's probably my favorite thing I've ever designed, actually. So it's cool. It's cool. I really like my background.
Yeah, that's cool. So who inspired you to start doing Let's Plays, if anyone did?
This is a bigger question than you may realize. I guess the simplest answer is there's 2 people. There's 2 people who inspired me to start Let's Playing. The first one inspired me 3 years ago to start Let's Playing. That's Chugga Conroy. And then the person who inspired me recently is Ducky Nosai to Let's Play. So, and that I based on other questions you might ask, that could be better explained, but that's the short way of putting it. If I were to say the whole thing, we'd be sitting here for hours.
Don't worry about it. If you want to go into better detail, you can. We have plenty of time.
Well, I mean, basically, like based on the thing of questions that you sent me ahead of time, it mentioned, you know, have you had any previous channels? And the answer is yes. I've had many previous channels actually, and many I'm already doing still currently. But my first Let's Play channel was Blink and You Miss It. And I did that one, in fact it's still going currently, but I did that one for about 2.5 years. And when I first started that one, it was inspired by Chugga Conroy's videos. And so eventually, though, I decided I was going to stop Let's Playing. I was going to leave that behind and do something different. But then over time, that I started regretting that decision, and I kind of realized that it was not that I didn't want to be Let's Playing. It was that I was coming to an end of Let's Playing on that channel. I had gotten a lot different over time. I'd changed as a person, and that wasn't reflected in the channel. And I wanted to do kind of a fresh start. And the person who inspired me to do that in the first place actually was Dekinosai, because I saw one of his videos, and he reminded me of myself years before. And it was just it was kind of an interesting thing where I saw his video and how much fun he was having and all this stuff. I was like, man, I really want to get back into that. So that's kind of what inspired me the second time to Let's Play and to begin this channel, Herrinplays, that I've been doing.
That's a good answer. Well, okay, so when you're using your other channels box on your channel, you reserve it for friends, channels you enjoy, or a mix of both?
It depends. Really, the way I've learned is best to do it is to reserve it for what the channel's purpose is. And what I mean by that is, with Herrinplays, for example, well, really with all my channels right now, the way I have it set up is I have my other channels lined up in there so people can actually find them. And then I have what I call affiliates, which is basically YouTuber friends who I may or may not know in real life, who I work with frequently on video stuff. And actually, there's going to be some more people I'm adding into that soon. But I learned a long time ago that if you say that you're going to put it just as friends in there or do something like that, it's very easy for people to start sending messages going, "Aren't I your friend?" and all this kind of stuff. And you're like, yes, but I like you, but A, it may already be filled up, and B, I don't know you as well as these other people. So if you just say, "Oh, I'm just doing this with friends," you know, it just has a lot of potential to kind of, right or wrong, get some kind of difficult situations going. And I've found it simpler just to reserve it for quote unquote affiliates. So,
okay, that's a good answer. Okay, so we'll move on to the next question here. And what was the very first game you ever played?
Oh Lord, that's a tough question. I have to think back. I think it's probably I'd have to say it's probably something on the Nintendo 64. I played at a friend's house or something. Like it was probably something like GoldenEye or maybe Donkey Kong 64 or something like that. The first game I owned myself and played, I believe, was Spy Fox in Dry Cereal. Yeah. So I think that's the first one I actually ever owned myself and played. And before that, I had played stuff at friends' houses. But really, it was Spy Fox that got me into gaming. So,
oh god, that's an interesting answer.
It's probably pretty unusual. People are like, "Oh, Mario 64," like this or that or the other. Like if if they're really old school, they're like, "Oh, what are you kidding? Pac-Man, man." You know, and then you got Spy Fox in Dry Cereal.
Dry Cereal.
It's a game nobody's ever heard of. Actually, have you ever heard of Humongous Entertainment?
No.
They're the company that actually developed that game. They also made it was a bunch of kids game series they made, like Freddy the Fish, Putt Putt, Spy Fox. What else did they do? Pajama Sam. They just had a bunch of point and click adventure kind of games that they made, and Spy Fox and Dry Cereal was just my favorite. So
I'll have to check out that game.
Yeah, this is like when I was, I don't know, like 6 or 7 years old, so it's been a long time. But you can probably get it off eBay. It's a fun game.
I'll definitely give it a try.
You definitely should. I'll be offended if you don't.
So, what was the worst game you ever played?
The worst game I ever played? Man. There's just so many terrible games out there. Probably the 3.5 seconds I played PETA's Pokemon game they just released.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, I just went to the page and I was like, what on earth are these people doing? And it's just Ash is standing there, like, he's bandaged and, like, or not bandaged, he's got, like, a baseball bat and he looks like some drunk white trash guy, like about to beat him up and like about beat Pikachu up, and he's like, I'm gonna kill you, Pikachu, and Pikachu's like, oh my gosh, there's no evidence in the cartoons that Ash loves me. Crickets, crickets. Like, it's just ridiculous. But in all seriousness, I think probably one of the worst games I've ever played is actually a game I actually own right now. It's called Army Men Sarge's War, and there's a series of Army Men games that were like real war plastic soldiers kind of a thing, was the tagline. And I played those as a kid. What they were top down RTS games, so to speak. Like they were sort of, depending on which one you were playing, they were kind of or mixture between Age of Empires and I don't know, I guess League of Legends is a good way to put it. And this is back in the 90s, and then they started releasing 3D third-person shooters based on the series with Army Men Sarge's Heroes. It was out on the PC and the N64 and stuff. Anyway, so when we get to the GameCube era, when we have Xbox, PS2, GameCube out, they get around to releasing a game called Army Men Sarge's War, and it's terrible. It's absolutely it's a horrible, horrible game. I don't know why I actually own it, and why I can actually say I've played through it 100%. It's a terrible game. I don't know why I put myself through it, but it's just so bad that it's amazing. Like, it's just one of those kind of experiences.
Guilty pleasure.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say that. It's I don't know that I could definitively say it's the worst game I've ever played, but it's definitely on the top 10 list.
Okay, move on to the next question. And who are some of your favorite Let's Players or just YouTubers?
Oh gosh, to answer the Let's Players part of that, most of the Let's Players I really enjoy are actually friends of mine. I haven't, and I wish I was. I just haven't had the time in a long time to just go out and watch a ton of Let's Plays all the time like I used to. So I really don't. I don't watch Let's Plays like I wish I did. When I do watch Let's Play videos, though, they're typically Chugga Conroy, Deki Nosai, Slim Kirby, Masayanella, occasionally Grand Pyromania, but all of it, just a whole lot of people who I know personally, and mostly that's what it is. It's people either people that I've always watched, or people who are friends of mine who I like keeping up with their videos. Kind of on an odd side note, actually, the Grand Pyromania's Kingdom Hearts and Kingdom Hearts 2 Let's Plays are, in some ways, the most influential Let's Plays on me that there's been, because his Kingdom Hearts 1 Let's Play is what got me into Kingdom Hearts in the first place. And it was really it's kind of an obnoxiously long and funny, weird story that I'm not going to tell, but basically the point is, they're good LPs. You should check them out. And then as far as just YouTubers in general, my absolute number one inspiration on YouTube is Olin Rogers, and he has some friends that he made some stuff with on Balloon Shop back in the day. Thomas Gore, Joshua Pursley, Nanaloo, Mika Kitty, Mitchell Davis. When it comes to just the wider world of YouTube, I have a whole lot of different people I really enjoy. But when it comes to Let's Plays, a lot of it's, like I said, friends or people who I've just kind of always watched just because I have. So, yeah.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next question there now. What's your recording setup like, and what equipment or software do you use?
My recording equipment, I use a Hobbit HD PVR. I use HD PVR for my capturing. I use a Fire Studio Mobile, and I don't know what kind of mic this thing is that I'm using right now. It's I can look, actually. It's a I think it's an Audio-Technica MB3K that I use as a mic. It's just kind of one of those things nobody knows about. It's one of the kinds that goes on a mic stand. And then I also use, what else do I use? I use that's my recording like equipment. I use component cables. It's just there's a 3-to-1 component cable that can go to Xbox 360, PS3, PS2, and Wii that you can get at GameStop, which I use to capture my footage to the capture card, and then from that it goes to USB to the computer. On the computer, I use HDPVR Capture as the program to capture it, and then I record my commentary with GarageBand. And then when I'm done recording everything, I bring it all into Premiere Pro and I edit it all together. And that's pretty well my whole setup. I mean, I could go deeper, but that's the long and short of it, really.
Okay, that's cool. Just a quick note, guys. If you happen to notice a bit of a stutter coming into this question, there was a pause in the recording. So just in case you noticed that, that's why that happened. The first time that's ever happened, but whatever. We'll disregard it. Move on to the next question.
Unique.
And that's what's some of your favorite Let's Plays that you've done or are currently doing?
I have to say my absolute favorite Let's Play that I'm doing right now is Twilight Princess. And it's because of all the projects I'm doing right now, it's the one that I always look forward to recording the most. It's just such a fun game, and it's a game I know so well because I've played through it so many times that, you know, it's just a very, very, very fun project. I really, really love recording it. And when it comes to all the Let's Plays I've ever done, if I were to go back to Blink and You Miss It, including, you know, Herrinplays plus Blink and You Miss It, I'd say probably my favorite overall LP that I've ever finished, considering that I've not yet finished Twilight Princess, would have to be Mario Galaxy on Blink and You Miss It, because that was a really, really, I mean, it was really an influential project for me at the time. I really grew a whole lot as a commentator over the course of that, and it was just a very fun game to Let's Play. And so I'd have to say, I mean, that's going all the way back, but I think with Herrinplays, at least for the time being, I'm going to have to say it's definitely Twilight Princess.
Are you planning on 100%ing Twilight Princess?
Yeah, more or less. There may be little things here and there I don't do. Like, I'm not going to bother getting every single little chest and stuff like that, but all the golden bugs, all the post souls, everything significant, you know, heart pieces, expansions. I'm getting everything that I can that isn't, you know, worthless. So, but yeah.
I think the Cave of Ordeals is going to be really fun when we get around to that.
Well, actually, I mean, the Cave of Ordeals is something I may end up streaming rather than putting into an actual video, because you don't get anything required from it. There's not, you get fairies tiers, and you get fairies at all the different fairy fountains, but besides that, there's really no big reward for it. You don't even get a bottle from it, because you have all the empty bottles by that point. So it's not even like you're getting an empty bottle with fairies tiers, you know? It's essentially just a way to challenge yourself. There's nothing unlockable, and so I don't think it's something I'll cover before the final boss. Like, I think it may be something I stream in the future, or possibly I may put a bonus video up with it or something like that. But
aren't there post-souls in it?
Yeah, there are. Yeah, that actually, there. Holy crap! Freaking Saget. There are post-souls down there. Dang you! You had to remind me of that. So now I have to go do that before the final.
Well, you could
Thanks
still.
a lot, Sean.
You could still stream it.
Yeah, whatever. Then it won't be in the continuity of the project, and I'll have to share the post souls in something different, and I'm not doing that. Thanks a lot for reminding me of that. I have to go to the Cave of Ordeals. So, yeah.
Oh, that's why it's called the Cave of Ordeals.
It's quite an ordeal, isn't it? Golly.
So we'll move on to the next question anyway, and that is there any regret you have with any of your past Let's Plays?
I have to say Ilo Milo is a project I really struggle with personally, because to record it, it's a very unusual game to record, and I think if I had to do it over, I probably would not cover it. Not because it's not a fun game to Let's Play, but because it's very difficult to organize in my head how to cover it. And it's a very difficult game to commentate over without just going, so what do I do next? Over and over again. Like, I don't know the puzzles by heart, and if I did, it'd make it easier. But I think when it comes to Herrinplays, Ilo Milo is something I'm making the best of, but I think it's going to go down in the future as being one of my least favorite projects.
Yeah.
Just because I wasn't thinking very very clearly when I decided to cover it, but
yeah,
good game, hard to commentate.
That's no problem. So we'll move on to the next question, and that is, what's your opinion on the Let's Play community today?
There's a lot that gets thrown around about it, and I think you have to take everything you hear with a grain of salt, because when you think back, there's a lot of people who'll say, and who'll argue, they'll say, when partnership and money got involved in the Let's Playing community, everything started going downhill, and we started seeing people get really greedy, and et cetera, and everything's different now than it used to be, and the community's falling apart, nobody has friends, everybody's just trying to get connections, blah, 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 blah. I really think that, the way I view it all, I believe that there are people who that is true for. I believe there's people who may have kind of, for lack of better terms, gone off the deep end when money got involved, who started getting into all this other stuff and becoming kind of jerks and things like that. But I would argue that 99% of the time, that didn't happen. And when you talk about there's examples people will throw out, some of which I agree with, some of which I disagree with, but there's examples people will throw out of this person or that person or the other person who changed or is a jerk or blah, 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 blah. And I'd have to say that, in my opinion, what actually happened is not that partnership comes in, money comes in, and everything changes, and now the community's really worse off. I think the community didn't really change much, except all that money did was it brought a lot more to the light that was already there. Because before partnership and all that came about, before Conjopi, before all that mess happened, the big thing everybody wanted to do, it was, or not, when I say everybody, I mean just kind of the community goal that everybody set, rather than, partnership and all that kind of stuff like it is now. It used to be just gaining subscribers, getting more popular, and hopefully someday being a Let's Player who is as much viewed as like a Chugga Conroy, who back then had 30,000 subscribers, or Nintendo Capri Sun, who back then had 15. And it's, and that's not saying that was everybody, and it was that way for most people without it being an exclusive goal, where it was much more about the fun than about that. But part of the fun is sharing since you're sharing the games with people and having them, part of the fun is having people actually see it. It's having people actually watch it, rather than simply just recording for nothing. That's the whole reason you're putting it on YouTube, is so people will see it. And so I think what happened was, the people who used to care about nothing but getting super popular, and they really were not in it for fun at all, and et cetera, I believe those are the people who went on to become jerks when money became involved. Mm-hmm. And then I believe there's people who were in it for a bit of both, who, they wanted to have fun with it, and they did have fun with it, but the most fun that they had was when they knew they had goals they were going for, when they were achieving different goals, when they knew their channels were growing, when they knew people were watching their videos. I was one of those, and it's not that people became jerks. It was that the things they had been pursuing became slightly different. It became a different goal, because it was something that previously had never been possible for a Let's Player. Partnership had never been possible, because mm-hmm. The only Let's Player who I know of who ever became a partner before Conjopi was Josh Jepson, and that was by a fluke. Not saying Josh Jepson isn't great or talented or whatever, because he's a really good Let's Player, but it was a fluke, technically speaking, that he became a partner, because many people who were more and less popular than he was back in the day had tried to become partners by the application method, and it didn't go through. And it was just kind of a random thing that YouTube, went, oh, hey, let's make this person a partner, But, and again, not saying anything against him whatsoever. It's just the reality was back then that just didn't happen. That was not something that could happen. Mm-hmm. And then Konjobi comes along, everybody goes crazy. We have a lot of different stuff that happen, and and before you know it, now there are networks. There's the Game Station, there's Yoush, there's Full Screen, there's the Game Network. There's all these different YouTube networks that make this partnership possible now. And all of a sudden, everybody wants to be a part of one because everybody wants to be partners and have the cool banners and have, back then, all the cool channel branding features, like having, different windows where you could put links everywhere on your page, and it looked really cool, and it was really cool. And, it's just the novelty of it all and the excitement of it all threw a lot of people for a loop, and some of them went off the deep end. But I think 99% of the time, all that happened was that all that stuff just brought everything out into the open that had previously just kind of been beneath the surface. It made it, rather, if it wasn't under the surface, it made it a lot more obvious because money kind of shines a light on everything. It kind of, the people who were just in it for, oh, I want to gain all the subscribers and I want to get all this stuff, all those people are the ones who, these days they're in it for nothing but money. And I also, and I know I'm going on a really long time. This is just something I have a lot to say about. Mm-hmm. With as far as the whole notion of there are so-called Let's Play purists, and they say that if you're in it for money at all, then you are you're not really a Let's Player, or you're a bad influence on the community, this, that, and the other. I've seen it so many times. I've seen it put so many different ways and on so many different people's comments and things like that. And the reality is that's not true, because it's just a different goal than the one that was already there, and anyway, I'm going on for a really long time.
Don't worry, you win the award for the longest answer anyway.
I could write a whole article about my opinion on it all, and I've actually said my opinion in some videos back in the day on Blink and You Miss It, which really from then to now I've not really changed. I've not had any sort of difference of opinion when it comes to the community. I think there were cliques back in the day. There are still cliques today. Mm-hmm. And for me personally, it's kind of weird because the clique that I was in back in the day kind of dispersed a little bit, and a lot of the people who I used to hang out with all the time, I still hang out with, but it's just not in big groups. And mm-hmm. everybody kind of matures. Everybody kind of matures out of a lot of the silliness and a lot of the stuff like that. And I think as a community, the Let's Play community is going to mature itself, and it has been already, but I think even over the next year, we're going to see a lot less of this drama happening and a lot more acceptance of, of each other and of each other's goals, and a lot more respect among Let's Players, which I think is the ultimate issue, is that Let's Players need to have a respect for each other based on the fact that they have the balls to actually sit down and record something, So it's an intimidating thing when you may know no one's actually going to see it, but then there's the possibility that someone's going to see it, mm-hmm. and it's terrifying. I remember the first time I ever recorded a Let's Play video, and it scared the piss out of me because I was just sitting there. I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm talking about a video game. I only do this with friends. I'm going to put this on the internet. What am I doing? You know what I mean? And so it's just an issue of having the respect enough for each other to recognize that even the people who suck at Let's Playing at least had the balls to do it in the first place. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter if you like their videos, if you dislike their videos, if you like what they stand for, if you don't like what they stand for. I can recognize anybody who I disagree with on their principles of Let's Playing as a good Let's Player without, letting my opinion of where they stand mar that. Because there's people whose positions I disagree with. There's people whose positions I agree with, and I'm sure there's people in the past who have thought I was one of those kind of money grubbers because I have a goal of making a living online. And I see the important thing not as what a person's goals are, but are they a nice person? Are they worth knowing? And, do you have a respect for them, and do they have a respect for you? That's really what it all matters. That's really all that matters when it comes to all these things, because you can ramble for 26 minutes like I probably have and make no difference in the community, or you can just wake up, realize you need to look in the mirror and say, hey, if I'm seeing these problems in the community, if I'm one of these people who's going, oh man, the community sucks, blah, 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 am I actually doing anything about it? Am I doing the part that I need to play? If I really care about it, am I doing what I need to do to make a difference in that community of Let's Players? Am I, in my own circle of friends, doing the things that I know need to happen, having that respect for people, having that empathy for people, that sympathy, that support? Or am I just complaining pointlessly and going into my own little 3-person groups of friends and doing nothing about it? In the end, it's the people who are complaining the most that are causing the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my novel. Be signing them from 3 to 5 at the Books and Noble down the street.
Before we move on to the next question, and by the way, fantastic answer.
Thank you. I'm glad you tolerated it.
You have just broken the Fear of Time's record for the longest interview video. You have broken it by a minute.
I know Firo, and I'm sure I can rub that in his face a little bit later. So.
In exactly 11 seconds, you would have broken it by a minute.
Oh wow!
So congratulations, because the reason I'm mentioning that to you is because sooner or later I'm going to do this thing called the Let's Interview Awards, and that's going to be one of the award categories.
The person who wouldn't shut up.
Okay. I think we can go on to the next question now, and you probably...
I don't think so. I think I need to go back through that again. Okay. You probably answered this in your novel a second ago, but is there any advice you'd like to give to other Let's Players out there? Yes, I did in part answer that. It's the answer of, if you see a problem, do something about it yourself, or else you're being a hypocrite, and you're just contributing to the so-called problem. But as far as Let's Plays themselves, when it comes to actually making LPs, when it comes to actually being a part of that community, the 2 things I will say are, number 1, be yourself. Don't play a character. That's the mistake that I fell into and I didn't even realize it was happening, but with Blink and You Miss It, that's what happened. I became, when I recorded this person that Blink and You Miss It was supposed to be, and when I really thought about it, it had very little to do. I mean, not like very little to do, but it wasn't really a good representation of me. And that's why it was hard to record the videos. That's why I didn't enjoy it anymore, and that's why I wanted a fresh start. You'll save yourself a lot of time and a lot of annoyance if you figure out who you are, figure out what you like to talk about, what you like to say in your videos, and the games you want to play, and recognize that even if you are, doing all these things, if you're following all the best advice in the world, it's still going to take you around 100 Let's Play videos. Maybe not, but depending on the amount of work you're putting into them, maybe around 100 Let's Play videos before you really find your flow. And it's just the reality of it, because you're going to want to be experimenting, you're going to want to be trying new things, you're going to want to, figure out what your special catchphrases and intro and outro and all those sorts of things are, and you got to give that time. And don't get discouraged if you're finding that, you're making these videos and you're not pleased with how you're sounding or how your commentary is going. It just takes time. It just takes time to figure those things out. Make sure that you're playing the games that you want to play. Make sure you're not playing games that you're just doing because, they're the games to play. Make sure they're ones you actually want to play. Don't do Ocarina of Time just cause everybody does Ocarina of Time. Do Ocarina of Time because you love that game, you know it well, and you want to play it. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself kind of forcing yourself into doing these projects you're not passionate about, that you don't know enough about to make interesting, and it's going to be a terrible experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really, when it comes to actually making the videos, that's kind of the biggest thing, being yourself, making sure you're being true to be true to your own creative integrity. You know, make sure you have creative integrity. Do what you want to do because you want to do it in the way you want to do it. And it doesn't matter what anybody else says. Everybody can say, oh my gosh, you're doing Pokemon Emerald? Chugga Conroy did Pokemon Emerald. You can't do that. Don't listen to that kind of stuff. Don't listen to anything except what you know you're going to have a blast doing, what you know you're going to have a blast recording, editing, posting, and commentating. You know, and through that, you're going to improve. You're going to gain your own feel to your videos. You're going to become worth watching. And it's going to be great. The other thing is that I'll say is, also in vein of the community, don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to, you know, it doesn't matter who the person is. They could be, you know, one of the biggest LPers out there. Just everybody in the LP community, generally speaking, the 99%, they're pretty nice people. And they're willing to chat. They're willing to hang out. They're willing to help you out if you need something. They're willing to give you feedback on things if you need feedback. I mean, most people are just average, nice people. And the people who aren't willing to take a look at something unless it's just truly, look, I'm really sorry, but I don't have any time for this at the moment, you know, it's just not worth going into. So don't be afraid to reach out, and don't be afraid to be yourself.
Mm-hmm. That's a good answer. So we'll move on to the third last question here, and this has nothing to do with Let's Plays whatsoever, but what's your favorite Pokemon?
I'll be completely honest. I have not played enough Pokemon to know. Because, I mean, I've played Pokemon Ruby 2 years ago, and I played Platinum a little bit for a few months at the beginning of the year, and I mean, I really just kind of look at Pokemon, oh, that one's cool, you know? Like, I'd have to say, if I was forced to choose, I would probably say Squirtle, just because Squirtle's awesome. And it's one of the ones that was around when I was a little kid, so...
Okay, I move on to the second last one. This is the famous question, guys, that was added by Grand Star Yoshi, and that is, sorry here, let me get out of words. Heron here is going to tell us one embarrassing fact about himself.
One embarrassing fact about myself.
Mm-hmm.
One embarrassing fact about myself. I'm trying to think of something that I could come up with here.
Take your
time. You know, this is like Jeopardy. I do not know. I'd have to think about that for a second.
We'll cut to it. Hooray for video editing.
Hooray for editing. I'm just such a stand-up guy. I just don't have anything to be embarrassed about.
Well, I suppose that's a good thing.
Let me think.
This will be fun to edit.
I know. It's like I just can't think of anything.
Oh no.
Oh no. Okay, I have an idea.
He has an idea.
I have a thought. Well, I've been super OCD ever since I was a kid, and it's really not as bad anymore. It hasn't been as bad as it was when I was a kid for some time, but when I was a kid, I had this thing where I could never step on a sidewalk crack or anything like that. Oh. And every time that I stepped into a new like slate of concrete, like on a sidewalk or something, I had to do it with the next foot that I had stepped on the previous one. So I had to step on each one like left foot, right foot, right foot, and I could never step on the cracks. And I don't know why. It was just something terrible was going to happen if I did. So.
Like Friday the 13th every single day.
Oh.
Okay?
Yeah, I mean that's the best thing I can think of right now.
Okay, that's cool. So we'll move on to the final question, and this is just a bit of personal feedback for me. But how did you like this interview?
It was good. It was fun. It was very laid back, and you do a good job of coming up with some questions that kind of gradually leads into the ones that are more important and more relevant, so to speak. Like asking about the community. I'm sure that's just about everybody's longest answer.
Yeah.
And you do a good job with leading into that with ones that are kind of simpler and help people relax and kind of get into the flow of things. And you do a good job with it.
Thank you very much. Glad you liked it.
Yes, sir.
So guys, we're going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all again for watching and supporting this series, and thank you, Herrin, for joining us today.
Most definitely.
So guys, definitely go make sure to check out his channel and his Twitter, links in the description box to both of those things. Annotations on the screen, clicky, all that good stuff, and links in the description box to many other things that you will find useful. So we'll wrap up this video, guys. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you in the next one, so bye for now.
Bye.